In this video I'll be showing how I improved the connection between the top of the table and the legs from my previous video. There's a link to plans and further instructions in the description below. This video was shot several months ago before the current pandemic, and I've not been going to the Hackspace workshop other than to help to make PPE for the NHS. Content related to that on my Instagram, that's also linked in the description. I started by cutting two 1.2 meter lengths of 2x4 and gluing the pieces together to make a 4x4. You could buy a 4x4, but I wanted to use wood that I already had. I then drilled a series of 35mm holes into the piece. Drill as many as you need depending on how many leg supports are required. I needed to drill the holes deeper than the drill press would allow, as the amount of travel it has is limited. So I positioned the piece with the holes over the drill bit whilst it was switched off, and then placed a scrap of 18mm MDF under the stock as a spacer. This then meant that I could drill the holes approximately 18mm deeper. I used a digital level box to set the table saw blade to 80 degrees. I seem to have lost the footage for this, but I then fed the piece lengthways through the table saw, leaving an angled length as shown. I then cross-cut the length into the 12 leg supports that I needed. I felt like the blocks were too chunky, and also they needed to be a certain size so that they could be secured to the tabletop using screws. I trimmed them down a bit from the bottom, hopefully without sacrificing too much of their strength, and also trimmed the top side of them, which won't impact their strength. I then jigged up the drill press and drilled 4 holes in every block for the mounting screws. The block will be glued to the tabletop, but the screws will provide additional strength as well as clamping pressure while the glue sets. I sanded the bottom and side edges to remove any sharp corners. I unscrewed the existing hardware. The steel plates had sort of adhered to the finish, so just needed a little persuasion to remove them. I placed each of the blocks onto where they needed to be mounted and traced the outline onto the tabletop using a knife. I set my router to a very shallow depth just to remove the varnish from this localized area, and removed as much as I could without going over the line. I then went through a process of test fitting and chiseling slightly more material away until the block fit nicely. I applied glue to the blocks and screwed them on, holding them firmly to make sure that they didn't slip. The wooden dowel legs could then be inserted into the holes. The fit was quite snug, so it could be left as is with removable legs. However, I decided to glue the legs in as well as adding a screw from the side of the block, securing the leg in place. Unfortunately, I never took any photographs or video in its complete state, as I wanted to get the piece back to the client as fast as I could and minimise the inconvenience of not having the furniture to them.